week. It's March 2021. Can you believe it? I sure can't. Anyway, throughout the last, I would say, couple of years, some of the more diehard Mopar fans have been licking their chops with rumors of, wow, that's pretty cool, with rumors of the CUDA and a new Viper and, you know, whatever, the truck and all this other stuff, you know, the TRX. Lots of neat things coming, but one of the biggest issues, and I guess you could say the elephant in the room, so to speak, has been whether or not the Challenger and Charger and the LX platform is really going to stick around for much longer. You know, it wasn't that long ago when that platform was actually being considered to be on the chopping block, so to speak. And in fact, I think it was 2019 or 2020 at one point was discussed as the final year for that particular platform. Well, now we know that that is going to, well, it's not that anymore. It's obviously 2021 and we still have the LX platform. However, one thing that a lot of folks had known is that that LX platform was going to be out of its agreement status with Mercedes basically come the year 2023. That was going to be the last model year. Well, about 6 months ago, Unifor signed with FCA, it's an auto union in Canada. They're just going to keep making the LX platform at least through the 2024 model year. Now, to bring you up to speed, that's significant, but is it really significant for the Mopar buyers, at least the Mopar owners, that recidivism to keep buying Mopar? What's in it for the Mopar guy is really where I'm going with this, because at no point in any of this conversation have we talked about revised versions of the LX platform. In fact, what I read, and this is of course a while back, but my understanding was that it was just going to be derivatives of the same platform. In other words, yet another Redeye, I don't know, Charger, maybe a upgraded engine, pick something, okay? Just like what you've seen with the Superstock, the Redeye, the wide body, the whole bit. Derivatives of the same platform, but not any kind of update, whether it's weight reduction, size variances. Maybe we're talking body panels. Maybe we're talking just a little bit of a refresh, but the platform itself would still move forward. Okay, not too shabby, but the fact of the matter is you've got the S660 Mustang looming over our heads, and we can get into the pros and cons of, you know, the whole Mustang versus Mopar thing, you know, my take on that, but basically that is you can't really compare the two. But the other thing about this is the Mopar platform just flat out getting stale? The problem is that FCA Dodge, in this case, keeps selling cars the way that they're being made now. My argument is don't mess with success. If there's going to be a revision, just tweak the LX platform a little bit. Try not to go overboard, and definitely don't jump into the sandbox that Mustang is playing in. Camaro has already been doing that for a while, except here lately, that skirmish hasn't gone so well. And I was also kind of digging around and looking at, you know, the more historical perspective with all of this. Basically, where does the Challenger fall in line with the Mustang anyway, now that we're talking about them both? I mean, I got Mustang's name in my mouth. I better start talking about the comparisons here, because this may be, if all the rumors that we were hearing were true, with the Camaro potentially going away. I don't think it's going away. But anyway, how can you really have a three-way race when there's only two horses that are basically the same? It's like having two quarter horses and a draft horse lining up in the gate. So the draft horse won't even fit in the gate. Mopar. Here's the point. If Dodge does, at the end of 2023, decide that they want to go with a smaller, more pony car type of an approach to this, what history would they have to really fall back on? You know, because Mopar is always leaning back on that historical perspective. Hell, the name Hemi is trademarked, for crying out loud. that should tell you just how hard they are basically resurrecting their past to somehow generate some kind of a performance image. It only really lands with people that know what that Hemi is. For guys that don't have uncles or granddads or older brothers that had or that even knew what these old school Hemi cars were from the 60s, that Hemi name doesn't mean anything. Coyote means a hell of a lot more to him, or LS means a whole lot more to him than Hemi. Anyway, I digress a little bit on that. I think you get my point here. Long story short, what would Mopar, what kind of historical significance would they draw upon? SCCA racing from back then, maybe? I don't know. I mean, when you look at how these cars performed against each other on the street and how they were marketed against each other, you start to see a little bit different story unfold. See, the reality is the Mustang has always been the lightweight. It's always been lighter. It's always had smaller, more twitchy little engines, so to speak. Think the 289 Hypo, things like that, okay? The smaller engines, higher winding, fast, lightweight, nimble, and they appealed to everybody. Every demographic loved them. Males, females, young, old, everybody enjoyed those cars. And for good reason. And so they always sold extremely well. Well, the funny thing is that come 1970, keep in mind, we're talking about cars historically when you're comparing the two and trying to draw upon that old heritage, right? The problem is that the Cuda was the only car that you could respectably compare to the Mustang, and even then that car was significantly heavier, significant by about 250 to 300 pounds. So when you're talking about like an 8 or 9% weight difference in the lighter weight version, where the Challenger, little bit heavier car, not by a whole lot, little bit longer wheelbase, more favorably compared to the Mercury Cougar of all things. Not for the fact that it was also a, well, kind of a big luxury grand touring type car, personal coupe, if you will, compared to an actual pony car. And then, of course, in 1971, everything changed with the Mustang body style going to that big thing that it did. But it was also originally big like that to house big blocks. So there's that. But anyway, I guess what I'm trying to say is, what kind of nostalgia is Mopar going to come up with if they change what they have now? Keep one thing in mind. Their real nostalgia is 2008. The reason why I say that is because the original run of the Challenger and Cuda started in 1970, ended in 1974, and I might have ended mid-year 1974. So oddly enough, you've got a 5-year run. Well, with the current iteration, what is it, like 13 years? The funny thing is that they have a much longer run of a car, and milking that nostalgia, if you will, that udder is bone dry at this point. So my question to you guys is this: has the retro look run its course at this point? Keep in mind, nobody has done it better than Dodge. Well, I say nobody's done it better than Dodge, at least on the American side. I mean, the Mustang has a lot of cues. In fact, it's instantaneously recognizable as a 66 fastback clone, or modern, iteration, if you will. The same as the Challenger, but the Challenger is a whole lot more true to form. But has that played itself out? And at what point does the Challenger get its own identity? Or does the Cuda come into play? And does the Cuda get its own identity? The reason why I'm asking all these questions is we've got a new Mustang coming out, the S660, and for whatever it's going to be new. It's going to be fresh. It's going to be something that people are going to get excited about. Chevrolet has obviously released the C8. You've got innovative cars like the GT500, although I don't agree with the transmission choices, which are at least causing, or did cause, some level of a stir. But there's nothing new from Mopar. You can't call the Super Stock new, by the way. There's absolutely nothing new about the Super Stock. In fact, it's basically some warmed over kit from 2018. To be honest with you, it's about 3 years old, brand new, just the way that it sits. So when you look at it from that point of view, what would you like to see, I guess? So let me get to you guys real quick, and then I'll jump back into my ramblings here. CFL James is checking in with the thumbs up and the arm flex. I like it. Grandma Driver's checking in. Actually, CFL beats you to it, buddy. Case checking in saying hello. Cyber Knight saying, hey, B-Mason, what's up, man? Alexander saying, I sure hope so, and I hope that the V8s can survive, you and me both. Saying, with electrification if necessary. Well, we'll see what ends up happening with that. I've got a lot of thoughts on that, too. Kobe Warren saying, what's up, B? What's up, Kobe? Hash is saying the platform is gone. I might be with you on this. We'll see where it goes after that. C6 saying kill the platform and bring it back lighter and more competitive. That's the problem, though. See, and C6 and I have had this chat before. The problem is make it competitive, but with what? My thing is that if you're going to make it competitive and you're going to make it competitive with the Mustang, you're going to lose that fight. That's the fastest way to lose a mark, is to try to put it up against the Mustang, because at the end of the day, if you make it lighter with a 392, it's going to be faster than the Mustang just based on power. But then once you get into the modification aspect of it, it falls way short. And of course, this is a tuner environment. It is a tuner world that we're living in. And Mopar, you ain't part of it. Unless your name is Hellcat or Redeye or Super Stock or Demon, unless you got some spinny whiny thing sitting on top of your engine block, you're not part of that crew. Sorry, at least not for a lot of folks, because that chat you need to do it is pretty stacked high. So I'm with you, but what would be the motivation? Dodge is selling every single one of these barges that they make, and for good reason. It is a completely different kind of car. It is a non-competitor, and rightly so. It's one of those things where they don't want that fight. They don't want to step into the ring with that. They're doing really good in their own little world, and as long as their own little world holds together, they're a really big fish in a very small pond. If they play in that arena, if you want to go up against the likes of Mustang, you got to have something. My thought on that is bring me a little bit of that Viper. Bring me that platform. I want to see the Viper platform with the 392, maybe an all-aluminum 392, and then, of course, every Hellcat variant that you can dream up. That's a vehicle and that's a platform that would be overwhelmingly competitive. As a matter of fact, it wouldn't take much to make that car easily accessible, very and readily available, and very attractive to everybody walking around that is even remotely thinking about buying a sporty car. And that would be to basically, nobody's going to like this, but more or less 2+2 variant of the Viper. And think of it more along the lines of the Mustang in a way. Call it the whatever you want to call it. They're going to come up with some stupid name for it. It's going to be, some kind of critter, But anyway, the point of this is that would be my vision. Leave the Challenger where it is. It's going to take a completely different platform, but a completely different mindset to go up against the Mustang. Stay away from the Corvette and still give the buying public something that they can afford and that would be fun. You could put a V6 in it. You could put a V8 in it. You can put Hellcat variant V8s in it, and it would still be viable and easily put together. And it wouldn't take that much engineering and a whole lot of retooling, I don't think, to make that. But that's what I would want to see. Something a little bit different, a little bit away from the norm. Now, a lot of folks have said, well, bring back the Viper in that exact same mode. I don't know that FCA or Dodge would, And if they did, I think it would just be too expensive. I think they would end up shooting themselves in the foot once again. And the reason why I say that is because you ever meet somebody that just can't seem to not step on their business whenever they get the opportunity? That's where the Viper brand to me falls in line. And keep in mind, you're talking to a 3-time recovering Viper owner here. What I've discovered is that to get it right, and to really get it right, it takes a little bit less ego than what that Viper nameplate would allow you to have, or would suggest that you should have. And that's been its failing since day one. It could never compete with the Corvette, and it was more or less, I hate to say it like this, but unless you were hardcore into Viper itself, you weren't going to even consider buying one. It's not economically viable. That's why the Viper's not around anymore, and the Corvette's changed its image 100%. Whoa, hang on just a second, everybody. Kobe, thank you very much, saying the new Challenger and Charger has been around now longer than the old ones. That came first by a significant margin. You're exactly right. Thank you for the contribution, Kobe. Appreciate that. Sean checking in with the super chat. Thank you, buddy, saying every month that we don't hear about the next generation Challenger is a small nail in the coffin, in my opinion. Good point. I'm going to starting to get a bad feeling. And let me tell you something, brother. A lot of folks are getting that exact same bad feeling. And I got to tell you, I'm not one of them, because, brother, I ain't got a girl working that corner. I got the mistress at the house, chilling in the garage. Love my Hellcat to death. The thing is that that Hellcat that I have sitting in the garage is going to be relevant for a very long time. It will, for not ever, but for a very long time, and forever in some folks' minds, be the yardstick that performance is measured against. Dodge did something in 2015 that nobody else had done before it. They gave us a mass-produced 10-second car that anybody could go to the dealership and buy if they had the coins to buy it. They one-upped that in 2018 by giving us not necessarily a mass-produced, it was a limited production car that would run 9s. Well, if the conditions were really good, but you get the point. The Demon will get you into the 9s eventually, but from the factory, that's pretty darn good. But it was never the mass-produced Hellcat. I don't want to call it the everyman's 10-second car, but it was at every man's Dodge dealership. And you could walk by it and see this thing. It made it very special. I don't know how they're going to catch lightning in a bottle for a third time. That's going to be incredibly difficult to do, especially considering that a little bit of the fizzle was lost with the Demon when Demon owners started not going 960s, 970s, or 980s, or 990s with their Demons. They're going to have to come back, and they're going to have to come back in a big way and do it in a way that impresses everybody. The same way that they did when they brought out the Hellcat. And to that point, a lot of old school Ford guys were also old school Mopar guys and relished in the fact that they had a Mopar that they were now living at a time where Mopar was back in business. And I mean business, not just being, not just surviving, but thriving. And with that 10-second plaque, that's kind of a big deal in drag racing. Well, they're going to have to do a lot better this time around. Let's just say that. Hang on just a second. Man, I appreciate that. We got a message retracted. I don't know who sent it in, but somebody dropped a 20 spot, man. Thank you all very much. Whoever that was, thank you very much. Superior Fit checking in. Thank you very much. Love your videos. Wish I was closer, man. Yep. H-Town, that's where all the good air was. So I'll tell you what, it's been crazy lately. We went from having just kind of funky weather. It was actually really good in January. And then February, which is typically our month to really, Man, February is the month. The first half of February is usually really nice. The second half turns into monsoon season, but we get the ice storm, and then we just haven't had any really good track weather, which is a real drag. But yeah, we'll get it. We'll get it eventually, hopefully. I'm trying to get to the drag strip on Friday, so we'll see about that. We'll see. I'm hoping anyway. I gotta put some miles on those bad boys. Let me get back over here. Thank y'all very much. I appreciate all of that. Just scrolling back up through Sovereign Knight. LX platform is a heavy barge, but I love that barge. You better believe it. Anthony's saying, good evening, Professor. Good evening, brother. Rick's checking in. What's up, brother? Cody Warren saying, need a Hellcat 300. You know, it's funny. I'm surprised that the truck doesn't have a Hellcat variant. We don't have the 6.4 here in the States, 300, but, why not throw a Hellcat engine in that thing? It'll fit. Plus, it was the funny thing is that I'm surprised it doesn't have one, just based on the fact that the 300 nameplate was actually a very historically significant nameplate for Dodge. It was kind of the hot rod there for a little bit when it first came out in the 50s. So anyway, Hash is saying that platform is toast long term. Pretty much. Sovereign saying, oh, he's hanging out with Alex. Let's see. Big Trucker saying electric assist is the only way forward. It's funny. I'm on board with some of that. I just don't like the whole hybrid thing necessarily, unless you have a small petrol engine on board to basically act as a mobile battery charger for an all-electric powertrain. That's what I'm on board with. A small, it could be anything. It could be a small turbine. It could be anything that would just exist to spin a generator to charge batteries. I would be really cool with that. Provide just the lighter, the better. But the electric is just, it's so nutty how fast those cars are. And now with cars like the Taycan Taycan Turbo and the e-tron with their 2-speed automatics, the 2-speed is in multi-speed transmissions that can handle that much torque. Because keep in mind, building a transmission for an electric vehicle is very tough to do. The amount of torque that it gets hit with, it's not the same as an ICE, internal combustion engine. It's a lot more. So what you're looking at realistically is with the e-tron, for example. E-trons are running 1050s at 130 miles per hour. The Taycan GT, Turbo is running 1020s, 1030s. They're basically the same car, more or less. But damn, that e-tron looks tough, man. But as the EVs get transmissions, you're going to start to see the complexion change a little bit. Let me tell you why I'm saying that. For most folks, Tesla, the big Achilles heel for any Tesla that you drive is the 1-speed. It will accelerate like a banshee for about 8 seconds. You got about 8 seconds worth of real hard acceleration. And then it'll just basically lay over because it runs out of RPM. It'd be just like running your engine flat out, and your power band from your point of view goes up and then it falls back down. That's exactly what's happening with that electric motor. Well, the Porsche, the e-tron with this 2-speed, it accelerates like hell for 8 seconds, and then 3 seconds, 4 seconds, it shifts gears, and now you're hitting that speed controller with a ton more load. It throws a lot more amps back at the motor, and it starts accelerating again, very much like a very powerful internal combustion engine. You don't lose out on the top end the way that you do with the electric car. That has been the big letdown for the electric car. Well, now there's some innovation. There's some things happening here that are going to make that electric car act more like an internal combustion car, which means that it will be faster and then faster still. The difference is this: if you look at a Tesla Model Alphabet, Luda, fuckrist mode, whatever, fast mode, that car I think will trap 122 in the quarter, and with a 2-speed, these other cars are 130 plus miles an hour. It is a major difference. That means that when that Tesla noses over, these things just walk right out of their life. The same way that an internal combustion engine will. And that starts to get a lot more appetizing. That type of performance allows you now to be able to run the thing to 150, 160 miles an hour. It's going to get real scary when these electric cars and guys like me can get their hands on one. But it's going to get real scary when the aftermarket starts figuring out a way to get these things to pull real hard to 160, 170 miles an hour. Would you want to roll up against something like an e-tron or a Taycan in a roll race from 40, 50, 60 miles an hour and know that you now don't have an advantage anymore on the top end? That's going to be tough. And that guy can do it over and over and over again without worrying about sending a rod through the block, throwing a belt, blowing up their transmission, or anything like that. It is absolutely spooky what is going to be coming next in terms of electrified vehicles. Whoa, hey, hang on just a second. Kobe's checking in. Let's see. Hang on. Already checked with Kobe. Hang on. What happened here? CFL, thank you very much. Saying, come on, guys, outbid me, B. Gracias. Thanks you. Muchas gracias, amigo. Well, thank you very much, guys. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, share, all of that good stuff. It helps, man. The logarithms on YouTube are really weird. And thank you all very much. I truly do appreciate the contributions to the causes, guys. I really do. But this is actually a really fun topic for me, because with all of this talk about these newer electric vehicles, you can only imagine if Dodge took the same attitude that they had with the Hellcat, basically the STFU attitude that they had with the Hellcat, and applied it to electrified vehicles. Taycan, e-tron are the only two that come to mind. And by the way, look up that e-tron. I'm sure you've seen the video or the advertisement for it. It looks like an R8 on steroids. I mean, that thing is just nasty looking. But anyway, could you imagine that attitude going into an electric vehicle that, let's say, has a 2-speed automatic or a 3-speed automatic and 850 electrified horsepower or 750 electrified horsepower? That would be a car that would run 9-second quarter miles indefinitely until it ran out of charge. You just run it, come back, run it, come back. As long as your speed controller stays cool, batteries stay within temp, motors stay within temp, you're good. That would be nuts. And of course, then you can play the whole responsible thing. The one thing that drives me nuts about the whole EV thing is I hate when they're trying to sell responsibility, like that virtue signal for responsibility. We're being great to the environment. Really? Okay. Well, we're going to be great to the environment. All the meanwhile, selling performance would be a whole lot better look for me. Anyway, getting back to it. Let me see here. Let me check in with everybody. Make sure I'm not missing out. Let's see. All right, let me get to my let me get back up here. God, I blew right past it. Usually I'm pretty good about being able to find my place, and I didn't here. All right, Anthony G saying, good evening, Professor. Rick saying, hey, Brother B. There we go. Okay, we got the bar. Okay. Let's see. Superior Fit's asking, is the Redeye really much faster than a regular Hellcat? Damn. So from the factory, yes. With the main limitation being the gearing. The big benefit to buying a Redeye is the fact that you can option it with a 3.09 rear gear set. If you buy a Redeye with a 262 gear set, I don't think you're doing yourself any favors. It won't be that far removed from the Hellcat in that respect. Now, if you get a 309, yes. But should you choose to go the Hellcat route, 309 gear and a pedal commander will put you, well, I'll put you like this. It will get you basically in the club of whatever the Redeye is going to run. You'll maybe be a tenth off, but not by a whole lot. The big difference here is that the Hellcat, that supercharger just doesn't discharge a lot of heat, and you're able to run a little bit more timing with the Hellcat than what they run with the Redeyes, even at the same boost levels. Now, obviously, those engines make more boost, and obviously, with more boost comes less timing. Y'all know that. But if you look at the actual tune itself, because of the heat that supercharger generates, even at the same air charge, it's backing off timing a little bit more. So the main benefit, one versus the other, the Redeye is just going to launch harder than the Hellcat will. It just makes more torque down low. That's really where your money's being spent. Don't worry about the ET or the mile an hour. The back half of the track, they're practically the same. So, Kobe's saying Dodge has always been a big girl, and that's okay. I like it, and I'll agree. Superior's asking, and will they come out with something stronger next year? And you know, the funny thing is that, no, I don't think that they will. In fact, what they had said was that they would have more derivatives of the Challenger and Charger, which is to read, they would have derivatives of the LX platform. Now, what that means, well, the problem is we just don't know, because FCA, Stellantis, Dodge, whichever entity you want to call out for this, they're being tight-lipped about it. And this is something that I've got a little bit of a problem with, because as a Mopar fan, I mean, as somebody that has invested in Mopar, so to speak, at this stage of the game, we're talking my first car was a Dodge. I learned how to drift. My grandfather was teaching me how to control the skid, which, you know, would be considered drifting today. I learned how to do that in an old Dodge pickup truck. You know, I've had 3 Vipers. I've got a Dodge work truck. I've had a Dodge truck. I've, you know, got a Jeep. So the whole thing about it is I'm pretty well deeply invested in Dodge at this point. I want to stay that way. I'd like to stay somewhat brand loyal just because I like the cars. I like them because they're different. I like them because they're not so cookie cutter. But I cut my teeth with Fords because when I was at that age, that's the only thing that was really available. And financially made any sense because the Mopars were so much more expensive. So getting back to it, would I like to stick with Dodge? Yeah, but I don't know that I can maintain this level of enthusiasm when it seems like Dodge themselves is losing the enthusiasm for their own products. You know, and I'll let me refresh y'all's memory on something. That Dodge has got a nasty habit of pissing off their recently loyal. And it goes back to, and y'all know my position on this, but it goes back to the fact that when the Elephant engine was being released, they had the Elephant footprint squashing out the cat claws, the cat footprints. Google the advertisement if you don't remember it. That had a lot of Hellcat owners pissed, especially when it was, okay, let me understand this correctly. You've got the Elephant coming out. Those of us that were in the know about the Redeye and all of that, we're going, well, wait a minute. You want us, what are we supposed to do with this Elephant crate motor that you just basically said would squash the Hellcat? Well, I own a Hellcat and I can't buy the Elephant crate motor in a car. It's a crate motor. if you understand where I'm coming from, it was a sour note, and it pissed me off because I'm looking at this thinking that elephant crate motor wouldn't exist if guys like me weren't buying the Hellcat. It should have been propping up the Hellcat and the Hellcat giving rise to this thing. You see what I mean? There's a marketing position that was completely lost. Not to mention the fact that the elephant crate engine turned out to be a freaking turd that nobody can get to work right. The block twist, all kinds of problems. Anyway, I digress with that. And by the way, nobody's setting any records, Mopar related records with that engine. What are they setting them with? Hellcats. In fact, number 2 with an 8-speed, the only records that count, was with a freaking stock 2.4 liter on it. Where you at, Elephant? Ain't made to that party yet, have you? Freaking side note. Anyway, the other one, and this is the one that was the pisser for me, even more so than that, if you can imagine, was the advertisement, and I took a screenshot of it, where they said that the Superstock was the only American muscle car sold with drag radials. Really? Did the 1320 not fall into the muscle car category there, Dodge? I think it does. As a matter of fact, the name of it is 1320, named it after the amount of feet that's in a quarter mile, but it's not a muscle car, and it comes with drag radials all the way around it as well, marketed to the grassroots racers that are flying the Mopar flag really higher than anybody else. So there's your other marketing gaffe that they decided that somebody over there decided that, I don't know, a 1320 is the muscle car. The issue here, guys, is that as Dodge keeps fumbling the ball in these marketing campaigns, it kind of gives you a little bit of an odd taste in your mouth, because this isn't car people. This is somebody pretending to be car people. This is people that hear words, they think they know what the words mean, and then they run with it. Now they're experts because somebody went in there and taught them a new word like drag radial. But not knowing the brand and not knowing the heritage and not knowing anything about the products that they're selling. This is marketing failure 101 on the part of Mopar, and for some reason, nobody's called them out on it. At least I haven't heard anybody calling them out on it, and granted, this is old news. This is an old gripe. Whatever, it was out there in the world. And this isn't the first time this has happened, because the granddaddy poobah crown jewel of marketing F-ups on their part came when they started to say, well, that the Demon would run 965 as delivered, perfect conditions on a well-prepped track. Only to have Ray Z be the only guy for a couple of years to legitimately even come close to that number in as delivered form. I should know, I helped set the car up. I was there, and that's on 2 different Demons that we did that with. So, what's next? Everybody else is out here trying to run a 9 with your Demon, and nobody's coming close in some respects. And again, this is 2-year-old news. But it's one of those things where you look at it and go, damn it, I want to be on board. I want to be able to fly that flag, baby. Red key all the way. But the problem is that when you start to look at it from that point of view, from an enthusiast point of view, from the point of view of somebody that is looking to, as I have done, vote with my pocketbook, invest and buy these products from Dodge, they sure as hell better be investing in that heritage that they keep selling, that all the tattoos in the brochure and all of the rock and roll and tire smoke that I've been talking about for 3 years, they had better be investing in us the way that we've been investing in them. Because let me tell you something, circle this back around, segue back to this old platform, which is apparently going to drag on for another couple of years, 3 years at least in terms of model years. we've got to be shown something, because those machines that are making those cars were bought and paid for a long time ago. These cars are nothing but profit margin for this company. So make no mistake, the innovation needs to come. That investment needs to start paying off, because without it, you start falling behind, and you can't rest on your laurels in this game. 2015 was a long, long time ago in this business. This business, you're really only able to look over your shoulder to maybe 3 or 4 years ago, 5 years at the most. In this case, clock's ticking, Mopar. We've got to have something, whether it's a new platform, a reimagining of the Viper. Something has got to change, and it's got to change for the better, or else you're going to start losing guys like me. Maybe guys and gals like you that are looking at maybe the new S660, something new, something fresh, hoping to find something from Mopar, but not seeing anything there. And the other thing, and I don't want to ramble on and rant because I've completely gone off the tracks on this, but for the brand manager or whatever saying grow within the brand, that's another thing that just makes me want to freaking bite my finger till it bleeds. When everything is Hellcatted, but nothing has been done on the NA side, how am I supposed to grow within the brand? Am I supposed to just be able to cough? I mean, what planet are these guys from? I guess everybody has got the kind of scratch laying around to throw down on a Hellcat Redeye variant. And not everybody does. In fact, hardly anybody does. So to say to grow within the brand, how about make something worth getting excited about so that I may contemplate the concept of growing within a brand that is so far up its own ass that it seems to think that throwing a Hellcat engine into everything that has 4 wheels that can honk a horn would be a great idea, all the while missing the nostalgia of the Warlock. That's the other thing. Anyway, I digress. Who's next? Big Truck saying, no, the Redeye isn't significantly faster. It's not. James saying, a small platform lighter than a Mustang called Cuda would fill the gap for Mopar. Only if it's done right, man. Only if it's done right, and it's got to be a targeted approach. No question about it. Could be saying it's faster on paper. Talking about the Redeye. Yeah, Redeye's faster on paper, but we've proven that in reality it's just not the delta is just so close between those two cars. Chris is saying Challenger and Charger are cool in their own way, but to see it compete with the lighter weight cars would be welcome with open arms. In my opinion, it's time to retire that ancient platform. You know, let's talk about the platform for about 30 seconds. So that platform got started back in 19XDX. I don't even know when. It's an old ass platform, but that's the W211 E-Class platform with W212 suspension components. That's how far back that goes. I had a 2009 W211 E63 AMG, and I freaking love that car. But there is absolutely no difference when you forget to get out of that car and then to go sit in a new Charger. You would not know the difference. I mean, if you blindfolded me and sat me down and I could feel the B-pillar and the steering wheel position and all that, all things being equal, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the two. Sam saying, yo, what's up, Sam? Jeff saying, best looking out there still. Agree. Big Truck saying, how do we call in? You need to have a StreamYard. I know, right? I do need to do that. I've been kind of contemplating a way to do that. Sam saying, I'm ready for the twin turbo i6 hybrid. Would be kind of fun. JR saying, looked through your channel and didn't see anything about a Procharger on a Scat Pack. What are your thoughts? The reason why you don't see anything on Prochargers on Scat Packs is because I've been around so many of them. When I worked at Pites, and still do some work for them, by the way. I'm not disassociated from that shop. It's just that, you know, my involvement is limited to, you know, porting manifolds and, you know, maybe putting a cam together here and there. But the thing about it is, so if you stay within, you'll hear me talk about the recipe with Mopars. If you stay within the recipe, you'll be in good shape. And what I mean by that is, don't get gritty with boost with a 392. I would say that 7 pounds of boost is pretty safe for that car in stock form. The issue isn't the rods, and the issue really, frankly, is not the pistons. It's the ring gap. Those cars have very tight ring gap, and that ring is very high on the piston. I don't have a piston here to show you, but where the ring is, like if my fist is the piston, where the ring is, it's a little bit higher up. And that's great for naturally aspirated cars. It promotes, it helps for compression ratio and all of that. But where it hurts is when you start running high cylinder temperatures and really tight ring gaps. Ring gap gets too close, pops up, pops a ring gap, pops a ring land. So you're timing limited. You're going to need to run it rich. You're going to need to make sure you're managing your cylinder temperatures as best you can. That's why they don't do well. Now, if you take a 392, pull it apart, put about 28 thousandths, 29 thousandths of ring gap in it, I mean, you'll be able to make some power. And in that case, you'll primarily be octane limited because of the high compression ratio with that platform, with that engine, because you're still looking at, 11-to-1 basically for your compression ratio. I say all of that to tell you this. I can't say that I'm the biggest fan of Prochargers and 392s. They work well, but the problem is when you put a Procharger on a 392, it's almost like you're admitting defeat in a couple of different areas. You'll pick up about 135-ish horsepower to the rear wheels with a Procharger. Not bad, but certainly not the kind of gains you would want to make from a percentage standpoint. And again, your fuel quality and timing limited in this respect. So from there, you can say, well, what if I put it on E85? What if I do this, that? That's fine. Please revert back to ring land. Ring gap and the height of that ring land. But the point that I'm getting to is the 392 with a Procharger, that plan only works if you have a paid-off car with a 392 in it, and or you've been gifted a car or inherited it or something along those lines. And you happen to have an extra 12 or 14 grand laying around. In that case, yeah, you can do the swap and have a car that actually runs pretty good. Thing is, though, you never feel the power with the Procharger. Not the way that you would hope, because that 135 or 140 horsepower only happens way up here in the top of the RPM range. Because it's a centrifugal supercharger, the power will start to diverge as power goes up. It's not always there the way that it is with a positive displacement supercharger, and therefore it's going to be a little bit lackluster. And the fact that you're not running a lot of boost means that whatever hit that you do get isn't going to be earth-shattering. It's not going to make you reinvent the way that you feel about your car. The best thing that I can tell you to do is go with a camshaft. Go with something that's going to cost a lot less. You'll still get about half the gain, but it'll cost less and it'll add a little bit of theater. I would argue that that would probably be the better investment, because with a cam, the odds of having issues based on fuel quality, and let me rephrase that, the odds of having a catastrophic engine issue based around fuel quality are a lot less with a cam. You can go plenty fast with a cam. In some cases, you'll be more or less, I know the horsepower number isn't quite there, but you'll still be fast, significantly faster than stock. And again, you'll be adding theater to it. So I know in some areas that won't play, and of course, if you put a cam in the car, you can't just sell the cam, right? You can always sell the Procharger. That's a bonus. But for me, still a little bit hazy on that. I like them, but I'll put it to you like this. I like them for the street. I just wouldn't run one on a drag strip. And I could go on and on about reasons why. They're fun for the street. Just know that you're not going to get your hair blown way back for that. Sovereign saying, retro looks better. The Mustang, in my opinion, looked the best in 2008. That was retro for sure. Marco saying, my boy. What's up, Marco? Again, thank you, Kobe. I appreciate that, buddy. BB's checking in saying, if Porsche can keep the 911 looking the same for 60 years, and Dodge can definitely keep the retro style, but just modernize it. You know, that's kind of the walking around argument that I have. I mean, Jeep is retro. It has looked the same no matter what. You look at an 83 CJ7, look at a modern Wrangler. What's different? Okay, tell me the differences, all right? The Porsche, obviously, I mean, that's one of the first ones you think of when you think of retro styling, because it's not really retro when you don't ever change anything. So there's that, right? And of course, the Challenger, I think, does a great job of staying very true to form, although the car is like a 9/8 scale version or 10/8 scale version of the original. Jeff saying interiors are more dated looking than the exterior. The interior on the modern cars on the 15 and up cars is great. If you think those cars look dated, look at some of the older ones. Let's see. Brenda's saying, I bought a used DSS aluminum one piece, haven't installed it. Do you recommend taking it to a drive shaft shop for balancing before I install? If you bought a used DSS drive shaft and it has the yoke up front and the CV joint in the back, I would say that if you have a 262 rear gear car, you should be okay. If you have a 309, like in a Hellcat, I would say that you've got about a 50% chance of that thing vibrating. It's just a harmonics thing. I know that Sean, I actually was able to get one of the early prototype DSS drive shafts with CV joints on both ends, and Sean reported that to be smooth as silk. So I would say that would be a better bet for you. But yes, definitely have it balanced, have it checked. Something could have happened in shipping. You never know. These are things that are going to be spinning quite a bit, obviously. So yeah, anytime you get something like that, it's always good to check it out. Make sure everything is good and safe before install. Marco saying, I got the Moe's HPT cam plus and long tubes on my 5.7 Hemi 8-speed with the the dual Invera intake 87 throttle body. My truck is flying Beta Raptor 3.5 and S4. That's a fun little cam. The Moe's cams are fun. Very nice. Yeah, those are fun. Yeah, I gave a Raptor hell with the work truck the other day. Johnny, again, thank you very much. Sam saying, I think the Malay styling needs to make a comeback. You know what? I'll be honest with you guys. I like the Malay stuff. I think it's great. There's just a certain something about it, man. I love it. Let's see. BB saying, people buy a Challenger or a Charger because they are big. All the online trolls are complaining about weight and size. Aren't aware of actual sales figures. Well, the reality is that you're right about that. I mean, a lot of those cars are selling, period, regardless of who's buying them. They're selling, and much to the chagrin of Chevrolet with the Camaro. I'm not really sure what the sales figures are, but I know that they're not awesome. Big Truck saying, take the Maserati GT Coupe and make it a Dodge. Be careful what you wish for, because that wouldn't be a bad idea, especially what they're going to be doing with the brand and the namesake of Maserati here pretty soon. Whoa, hang on a second. Hang on. And we got a lot of folks in tonight. That's awesome. Shift is checking in and saying, can I make an extra fuel cell work on my 392 for E85 track days? If so, would that be double fuel lines? Thanks again. So you wouldn't want to do that. I mean, I'll put it to you like this. You're not going to get anything from it. So you're basically talking about a setup that would be like a meth injection setup. So yes, you absolutely can. As a matter of fact, wet nitrous kits, all the wet nitrous kits we installed had their own fuel pump in their own fuel cell. And when you arm the kit, everything ran off of a Hobbs switch. So when you armed it, it would go hit the Hobbs switch. That would allow everything else downstream from it to arm, and you'd run race gas in the nitrous setup. So that's one way to do it, but I see where you're going with it, and I would say that if you're going to go that route, just put nitrous on the car with a wet kit, and don't worry about trying to run a fuel, because you're not going to get anything out of it. You simply won't. In fact, the only place you would really get any real benefit with that setup would be down low, below 4,500 to 5,000 RPM. From there, it wouldn't really, that E85 is not going to do you a whole lot of favors. Pick up a little bit of torque down low, but I mean, if you're looking to go through that much trouble, you're basically installing a wet nitrous kit without the nitrous lines. JR saying, thank you for your thoughts. I'm stuck between cam or a Procharger. You know, I don't want to talk you out of the Procharger. I just want you to know what you're up against. The other thing, and the reason why I was saying I wouldn't take it to the drag strip. So let me tell you why I wouldn't take it to the drag strip. The HP70 transmission, you need to think of that as your weak link. If the tune is on point with the car, don't worry about pistons and all this other stuff. Don't worry about that. It's really the transmission. So on the Mustang dyno, and this was repeatable when I was at Pites. On a Mustang dyno, the HP70 would start to slip somewhere around 530 to 550-ish pound-feet of torque. Sometimes you could carry them a little bit harder than that, 560, 565, but some of them would slip a little bit earlier than that, say around 530. And it really wasn't mileage or anything else like that. It's just some would slip a little bit earlier than others. The point of that is that you're going to be eerily close to that number in terms of a torque number, which means that you're going to be stinging that transmission if you're loading it with a real sticky tire at the drag strip. Now, if you're just playing around on the street, you're really not going to hurt anything, because your tires are going to be the fusible link, if you will. I mean, the tires are going to start smoking before that power level, so you'll probably be okay with that. In fact, we've had a bunch of these things running around on the street with Prochargers that are still running around to this day, and guys never take them to the drag strip. They just, goof around and play with the car, but they just don't load them up the way that a lot of guys would if they were taking them to the drag strip. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Now, if you want to take it to the drag strip, cam's the only way to go. I mean, if you've got a scat pack and you put in the Pikes Performance CD01, the full kit that they have, and or a Dr. Differential sniper cam or a Warlock cam, you're going to be scaring or in the tens. Okay, so you can still put the car into the tens if you've got an automatic with either one of those two cams. I don't know that you're gonna not be in the tens with a Procharger, but it just won't do it with the kind of theater that you would with a camshaft. So anyway, and of course a cam with a blower is even better, right? But you can always go there with it too. So, but thank you all very much. I appreciate that, guys. Let's see. Let me scroll back up here. Man, we got a lot of folks in the chat. I want to make sure, and a lot of you guys are in here too. So I want to make sure I get to you guys. Let's see. I just might have to pick a spot and start rambling because we got a lot of folks in here. Let's see. I will just start. Right here. Perfect. CFL saying Dodge has outsold all the other muscle cars and doesn't need a body change, but a lighter car with a 331, 1320, 426. That's a man that's been listening to me. So how about this, Dodge? If we're going to be talking about this platform moving forward, we got to see something happen here. We got to see something like a 331 gear, 327 gear. Okay, so for you guys that might be new to the channel, where the shop is where the studio is, I should say, is very close to Velocito. And so if you hear something running past, it's typically guys that are running out and getting ready to make hits. So tonight will be one of the first nights that we haven't had rain. It's a nice, cool night. So I have a feeling that as the chat goes on, you'll start hearing more and more of that as guys are running out to Velocito to go make some hits. And we've got a little bit of everything. You get some bikes, both four-cylinder and some of the hot-rodded Harleys will run out there. You've got diesel trucks, of course, American stuff of all types. Supras, some GTRs play around out here too. So we have a lot of good times out here in Velocito, Tejas. But yeah, some kind of if we're going to talk about derivatives of the LX platform, we've got to really start getting creative. We've got to start making changes or making updates that have substance, that carry weight, that have a little bit of flavor to them. Good timing for that. Anyway, a little bit of flavor to them. They've got to be able to really get a fire in your belly. You've got to get existing Dodge owners to turn their cars in for that next big thing. And that's going to be the tough part of it because, sad as it may sound, but as real as it is, the best place to get a great deal on a used Mopar is at your local Ford dealership's used car lot. Unfortunately, that's been a reality that a lot of folks have discovered. So we've got to stop that trend. And, again, just like CFL was saying, we've got to take a look at really invigorating and revitalizing and really, to be honest with you, they need to be selling now to the Dodge loyal, to the brand loyal, not just trying to bring folks in because a little bit of fluff here and there is okay, but without the substance to freshen up the brand, loyalties are going to start to fade. Loyalties are going to start to wane, and guys are going to remember the fact that there wasn't a Dodge for a number of decades, and that those guys were all driving Mustangs and Camaros and Impalas and Corvettes far before they got back into driving a Mopar like a Challenger or a Charger. Let's see. Oh, Sovereign saying to beat the Mustang, I think the switch to an aluminum block, ditch the pushrod engine for dual overhead cam. That's a hard call. We'll lose low end torque, but pick up on the higher revs. Not necessarily. I mean, look, with infinitely variable cam timing with the Coyote, it doesn't lose out to, cars like, or platforms like the 5.7, for example. It makes more torque and horsepower, if I'm not mistaken, than the 5.7 does. So you can make up for a lack of displacement with cam timing, but then it comes into packaging and redeveloping this engine. I don't even want them to redevelop anything. I just want them to come to the table with something that is at least somewhat recognizable as being a Dodge product and a muscle car, but two, maybe a little bit more competitive. I'll go ahead and ride along with that. Jeff saying V8s are going bye-bye. Big Truck saying bring back the Magnum. Jeff saying won't happen. Craig saying Magnum. Here's the thing. How many of you guys bought Magnums that are saying bring back the Magnum? The reason why I bring this up is because when I had my chat with the guys over at the SRT group, one of the questions was, what about the Magnum, that I had asked? And this is how they brought it to me. If people would have bought the Magnum the way that people keep asking about the Magnum coming back, they would have never quit making the Magnum to begin with. The problem with the Magnum is not enough people bought the Magnum, and so there was no reason to bring it back. And this guy was real direct about it. He said, man, I can't tell you how many folks say, this is when I was talking to the guy and I knew that the Viper was going away, and it was like, you know, hush, hush. He's like, guy goes, we would keep making Vipers if people would keep buying Vipers. Are you seeing a little bit of a pattern here? In other words, the Challenger, the Charger, they keep making them because people keep buying them. People aren't buying them because they keep making them. There's a big distinction that needs to take place there, and there's an understanding of that statement that it can almost slip right by you, like it sounds similar, right? But no, they will keep making them only if people keep buying them. So the Challenger and Charger, as strong as their sales are, they don't have a reason to change it because people are buying them just the way that they are. Is there any real strong motivation to move away from the marketing that they've already come to the table with? I don't know. It's tough to say. But that different American muscle type of mentality is what's got them to where they are now. Again, they kind of captured lightning, but along the way, lost a couple of really cool cars because people weren't buying them. And I can get into the whole reasons why the Viper wasn't selling, and part of it had to do with cost, but cost on a yardstick, on a yardstick of reasons why people weren't buying that car, made up less than a foot of that yardstick for reasons why people weren't buying the Viper. HU saying Stellantis needs to think of something with emission standards becoming tighter and tighter. That's one of my big reasons for pushing the EV concepts into production, is because the more EVs you have, the more cap you have on CAFE standards, that corporate average fuel economy, CAFE. The more headroom you have, the more hot rod gas cars you can make, because you have more headroom because you're meeting those standards with your electric vehicles. You got to remember, electric vehicles are what will keep the gasoline hot rod engines and hot rod vehicles in play. The same way that four-cylinder cars kept the older V8 engines in play and under development for as long as they did. Again, you have those vehicles to give you that headroom. Let's see. Oh, Sean saying, I'm not sure if the new owners of FCA, talking about Stellantis, are going to keep around a 4,000-pound muscle car, even though we like them. No, they'll keep it around. Listen, when they bought the brand, or when they bought the interests of FCA, they bought Dodge, Ram, and Jeep. That's the three brands that you buy. And quite frankly, the Dodge branding, the way that it is, I mean, this is a stool. You need at least three legs to make a stool. And in this case, this is really what you're looking at. The Dodge brand is predicated by performance, and its cornerstone is the Hellcat and the 392. So you do away with that cornerstone, that thing falls dead over. Without the image that the Hellcat brings to that conversation, I say it like this, but the rest of the brand just doesn't have a whole lot of there's not a lot of panache there for the rest of the brand. It just doesn't work that way. Dodge is horsepower and performance. Jeep is Jeep. Ram is Ram. So Robert's checking in saying hi. Hello, Robert. Chris is saying maybe it's time to retire the Challenger and bring the Viper back as a C8 competitor price-wise. Offer a manual front engine V8 for all the old school vet guys. So my argument for the Viper, I've got two different arguments for the Viper. One is, yeah, it needs to come back. It needs to be a sports car. They need the heart and soul of Mopar back. Keep in mind that it was the Viper, not the Challenger, not the Charger, that put Mopar Dodge back into the mouths of anybody in terms of performance. Back in 1992, 1994 with the original RT10, the original Viper, in 1996 with the GTS, and then moving forward from there, the rest is history. But without that car, there was really no reason to even talk about Dodge. And I mean, I was, like I say, I've owned 3 Gen 2 GTS Vipers, and love them or hate them, they're awesome ass cars. And, I got to tell you, don't know if I would ever own another one. But I'll tell you this, if it weren't for those cars, would you even talk about? What would there even be out there to talk about when you're talking about Dodge performance? It was predicated by the Viper. So I think the Viper does need to make a comeback. It's not going to come back with a V10. It needs to come back with a new engine platform, whether it's a dual overhead cam V8, which is debatable whether that's better or worse. It's power to weight ratio at this point. It doesn't matter. The power to weight, the physics don't care if it's got 1 cam, 4 cams, 12 cams, 13 and a half cams. It doesn't care. All aluminum 392 or 426, pick your poison, doesn't matter. Power difference really isn't all that great anyway. 392, whatever, aluminum block, some kind of a Hellcat variant. If you want, have a 2+2 variant of it. Make it look kind of like the e-tron. Do something different. Do something maybe a little bit more, I don't know, badass with that car, to where everybody will want one and it appeals to everybody, and girls, women will like it. Boys will have posters of it. Men will want to drive it. You've got to do something like that, or else it's not even worth the exercise, because without an automatic, you're missing out on 70% of your sales. Nobody's going to want a manual transmission version of that car if they're going to the drag strip or doing something like that. So many reasons to not want it that way. But have a proper manual available. Have the 8-speed automatic available, or a 10-speed variant of it. Whatever, it doesn't matter. That's what needs to happen. And if that does happen, to be honest with you guys, that would probably be the only car that I would even, make sure she's not looking around here, make sure the only car that I would consider trading the Mistress for. I mean, it's going to take something different than another Challenger. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Get worked up over the super stock? Come on, man. My car is, give me any super stock that's not owned by Ron Silva, even though I did beat him in a race. Ha-ha! Have that to fall back on. But give me any super stock that is just a super stock on a drag pack. And I'm here to tell you that super stock is going to have its hands all the kinds of full with my car. And my car's stock boost runs on 93 octane gasoline. What am I supposed to do? Get worked up about another Challenger? Something that's not going to look any different in my garage? I'm not going to know any different driving down the road looking through the windshield? Come on now. I need something to really get excited about. And unfortunately, it's getting harder and harder for me to get excited about anything from Dodge. But there's some stuff coming around the corner, like the new S660. Am I looking forward to that? I'm looking forward to it as a curiosity. I'm not saying I'm going to buy one, but I'm talking about it. And that's kind of the point, though, too, isn't it? Because we're not talking about new Dodge cars. We're talking about what we would like to see. We're talking about what we would think would be neat. But it's just talk. And with other manufacturers coming out with new stuff, and with there being some pretty exciting new electric vehicles come into play, I get it. They're expensive, $140,000, $150,000. I ain't got that kind of money. But what I will tell you, makes it pretty interesting to look. And I'm not out there looking at a Dodge. And that's really the point, isn't it? Not getting excited about a Dodge. I'm getting excited about something that isn't a Dodge. And that's a problem if you're Dodge, when you have people that are, again, flying your flag so high and they're not getting excited about hanging out with you. They're looking at that table over there and they're eyeing something a little bit different. That's the scary part. Going to be a cheating on happening. Let's see. Some are saying they might be able to sleek up the Challenger design slightly. Just don't sleek it too much. I hear that. Let's see. HU saying cars will need to be lighter and have smaller displacement engines. Hybrids and turbo 4s and 6s will be the wave of the future. You know, they've been saying that now for 35 years. And the funny thing is that everything you can do to a 4-cylinder, you can do to an 8-cylinder. And everything you do to a 6-cylinder, you can do to an 8-cylinder. Eerily enough, you know, it's because of that innovation and that drive to have much better fuel economy that we have such a variety of such efficient V8 engines. You know, it's nothing for my Hellcat to get 22, 23 miles per gallon going down the freeway. And that thing's a barge shaped like a brick and has over 700 horsepower. So there's some interesting physics that take place there, but the reality is that you can still knock down decent fuel economy and make tons of power. But I don't know. We'll see what ends up happening with this stuff. I'd be willing to bet that we start hearing hopefully something within the next year or so. But if we don't, how many of you guys, let me ask you this, if you don't hear of something new, what's your timeline? What is your patience quotient for this? Are you already past your patient quotient? Are you one of these stalwart type of guys that says, I'll just wait it out for as long as it is. I like what I have now, and it's going to take something amazing to get me off a dead center, or I'll just, keep, getting the newest, latest, whatever, updates for the operating systems and all of that. Those are the things that you like. You like your car, but you like the updated gadgets and gizmos, which I kind of do too. I'd love to get some input from you guys on that too. Superior's asking, is a Redeye much faster than a Hellcat, worth the money, and will they come out with something stronger next year? To answer your question, yes, not really, not so much, and I doubt it very seriously, to answer your 3 questions. Anthony's saying it's like old Mopar, they got all chopped, and it was just like the 318 and 360 left. Well, one of the big issues that you're going to have with a lot of folks is exactly what you just said. It's like old Mopar. Let's not have old Mopar happen again. And what I mean by that is, there was actually some pretty cool cars that nobody ever heard about and nobody ever bought, like the old Aspen-based Road Runners and stuff like that. Really kind of cool looking cars, but again, fell by the wayside. Nobody ever bought them. Nobody really ever got into them. Dodge tried, it just didn't go anywhere. But after that effort, there was nothing coming from Dodge to keep up with, or at least to be a contemporary of the Mustang or the Camaro. Let's just hope that after 2023, that doesn't happen again. Time will tell, but just like Sean was saying earlier, every day that goes by, every week that goes by, every month that goes by, that we're not hearing about something cool, new, exciting, innovative, nothing, not even in terms of technology, coming out of Dodge, FCA, Stellantis, whoever you want to call it, you're starting to have guys get cold feet, and at that point, that's when you start looking elsewhere. That's when that new Mustang, that S660, starts to look really good. Maybe in this amount of time you've been saving your money, you're waiting around, burning a hole in your pocket, that new Corvette starts to look pretty good. A lot of things can start happening in the amount of time that it's taken them to get us some news of something cool, exciting, and invigorating coming from that mark. What is your pressure point? What is your patience threshold? Oh, Sovereign saying, what if Dodge manages to go super retro and actually have a body and size design almost identical to the original E-body? Can't do it. Really can't do it, because to get all the safety equipment, features, and all of that, it would be impossible. Sean saying, here we go, talking about the previous post above this one. Oh, talking about the smaller, yeah, I wish you could, man. That'd be cool. And I mean, you couldn't even make cars from 10 years ago today. It just, all I say 10 years ago, some of these platforms are older than 10 years, but you couldn't make the previous platforms to these platforms today. Jeff saying, new merger is not going in that direction. I don't know what I was talking about when you said that. What direction? Big saying, Demon doesn't meet those numbers without launch control on a prep surface. Actually, we were hitting those numbers with foot braking on a drag strip, but it does need a drag strip. Clear saying, what up, B? What up, man? Roy's saying, happy with my 2018 392 Shaker Scat Pack? Absolutely, it's a fun car. Quick, too. G Git saying Challengers are selling because they're not a Mustang or Camaro. It's like I like my big torquey boat. And that's the thing. Me too. And so for a lot of the guys for everybody that's asking for something that is competitive with the Mustang, and I keep saying that's not a sandbox you want to play in. A lot of folks, myself included, have said, well, yeah, I like the fact that it's bigger. I like the fact that it's more comfortable. The back seat configuration is irrelevant to me. There's a lot to be said for the way that car goes down the road. It is comfortable and it is fast for, unapologetically quick, muscly, strong, very torquey down low. What's not to love? And so, again, they found lightning in a bottle and they're running with it, which is a good thing. Slash is saying MMX wants 30 grand to give my Scat 1,000 horsepower. Doesn't make any sense. Is that 1,000 horsepower to the rear wheels, or just 1,000 horsepower in general? I can get you 1,000 horsepower for a hell of a lot less than 30 grand if you're looking at 1,000 horsepower at the crank. CFL, thanks again, but I appreciate it. Clear was saying, should I wait? Hybrid, Stellantis, upgrade? I'm at a standstill. I know. That's when I was just big time on that. On that understanding. Daniel saying, I like the size. If Dodge wants to give a smaller option, why not a new Stealth? Again, the problem is I don't know that you can make a new Stealth. That's part of the problem. The DSM cars were awesome. And I loved the Stealth wouldn't, I guess it was also, Stealth would just be a gray import. But that'd be the same as a GT3, the 3000 GT. But the Talon, in other words, the Eagle Talon and its derivatives, those were all super cool too. And it just blows my mind that nobody ever talks about those cars anymore. Sovereign Knight saying that with G Gets. Sovereign Knight saying true, electric motors can spin way faster than ICE. They can, but here's the thing: they can spin faster, but the faster they spin, they lose torque production. Whoa, hang on a second. Hang on. Make sure I'm not skipping somebody, because we got some big ones here. Kobe's saying, thank you very much. Kobe's saying, when car makers start doing download for ECU and other systems so you could keep your car updated to some degree. So I think I know what you're saying. I don't know why they can't do that with the Uconnect. I know the software is compatible. It would be cool to get a Uconnect update. That would be super cool in my opinion. I agree with you. And then Superior, thanks again, man, saying thanks for all your info. You rock. Let me know where you are located. And if you do work, I have a mod question above. I don't personally do the work. I'm actually in Houston, but I can turn you on to folks that can seriously get you taken care of. See, Superior, where was your question at? Got a lot of folks in the chat, but hopefully I get to it. If not, just copy paste, throw it back up there, buddy. I was trying to find you up here and I didn't see it. Sorry about that, buddy. I'll try to get to you though, or just copy paste and throw it down there. And I'll make sure I get to your question. But if you've got a 392 or Hellcat or any of these Mopars, just give Dr. Differential a shot. He can definitely get you squared away. Hold on, I just saw one comment. I'm going to skip around here for a minute. Sovereign saying, why is Dodge hiring idiots who don't know anything about cars anyway? Hell, the requirement to get a job at Dodge should be to know about cars, especially Dodge's cars. So, I mean, you've been listening to the show. You know exactly my point on that. I'm right there with you. It pains me that's the way that it is, man. It's a weird, how do I say it? It's just weird to me. Like, how are you going to be hired on to Dodge and not be able to recite some things about Dodge's history? Whatever happened to passion? Who are they? Who are these people that they're hiring? It's like they've done a Google search on a couple of things, but don't have any real experience with any of this. And that's something that absolutely drives me crazy. And it also sounds like they're hiring people that will just kind of just bobbleheads. I mean, it's the whole idea behind this is that you are a car person at heart. You're like, you know, let's say if you're you're a girl, woman, and you grew up with your uncle or your brother or your dad teaching you how to race, teaching you how to do burnouts and going to the drag strip and raising hell on the street. That little girl that was with her uncle or dad or her brother grows up to be a car chick and gets into business and wants to go work for Dodge because she's always been around Dodge. That's who you want working for you. You don't want generic marketing guy working for you. You want the person that grew up racing and raising hell. That's what you want. And somebody that's going to be passionate and somebody that's not going to take no shit. They need to be basically rolling with that alpha mentality that Dodge brings to the table. And then we're just not getting that. That's the problem that I see, is that Dodge is becoming a lifestyle entity. It's a lifestyle provider. It's not anything other than that. It's basically taken the Harley Davidson marketing tactic and running with it. The problem is that you can only sell so many leather jackets and leather chaps and boots and hats and t-shirts and all this other stuff. At some point, you've got to make a really good product to go along with the swag that you're out there selling. And you got to have a story behind it and a reason why that stuff is relevant. And Dodge, every day that they don't give us something to look forward to, we're looking at alternatives. Maybe not seriously, maybe some are serious, maybe some have already acted. But every day that goes by, patience is growing less and less robust. Oh, Doc saying, what's up, B? Sorry for the text. Didn't realize there was a live going on. Glad to catch the live feed tonight. Hey, what's up, Doc? She was saying, what's up, Mr. R&D? Got the arm flex and the ball guy with the shades. I like it. Superior Fit is asking, is the Redeye much faster than the standard Hellcat? Man, that's come up quite a bit. Not really. It only launches harder. I'll put it to you like that. And Sean saying gear for gear, it's only about 1/10 of a second, honestly, and that's a maybe, because you guys have to remember, Revlon, aka the Mistress, doesn't really have any timing in it. It's got timing to accommodate my transmission tune, and even that is more or less a mimics what a Redeye transmission tune looks like. I guess the long and short of that is that I walk around Redeyes at the drag strip. But notice what I said there. I walk around Redeyes, but if a Redeye, because a Redeye will 60 foot my car, it'll come out of the hole. Like, this is the Redeye, this is the Mistress. Redeye will come out and Redeye will go like this to me on the launch. It doesn't matter what 60 foot I cut. And keep in mind, the Mistress cuts a hell of a 60 foot for a Hellcat. Coming out of the hole, it'll go yoink, and then I'll just start eating it up. And I'll come around it, and I'll typically put about half a car length to a car length on a Redeye at the end of the track. That's usually how that plays out. If I sleep on the light, like I did with Whitemare's freaking Redeye, which I will admit was one of the best races I have ever had in my entire life. So we launched. I was a little bit slow. I don't know what part of my ass my head was up. He gets out on me about like this. Going down the track, I mean, I'm reeling him in to the point where we went through the traps and there was it had to have been less than 6 inches between his car being a little bit ahead of mine. I lost the race, he won the race. And I literally, I mean, we went through the traps. I mean, I'm looking over at him and we're basically literally neck and neck going through the traps. It was really a good race. But that'll give you an idea as far as how that race will go. Sovereign saying, one thing you do get with the Redeye is the Demon block. That's very true. Primarily it's the pistons. The rods, stock Demon, stock Hellcat, you'll still make 1,000 horsepower with either one. But the real difference here is in the pistons, and the pistons are definitely better with the Redeye. Let's see. KB saying, hey, Mason, the Tesla Roadster is supposed to run mid-8 stock from the factory when it comes out, so look out. A lot of those are quick. So, yeah, be on the lookout for all of them. Chris is asking, what gears do you recommend for a 6.1 SRT8, and once installed, will it need to be tuned? I like 370 gears for those cars, and I would definitely suggest a tune for that. There's going to be some things in there that you're going to want to address, like rev limits and things like that, so your predictive shift algorithm doesn't get all pissed off. Cody's saying, I feel the Charger and Challenger are going to be there for a while. I would agree with that. Sovereign is checking in and agreeing too. Chris Harris is asking, what would I need to do to run Sunoco GT260 unleaded race gas on my 100-shot Nitrous 6.1? Just pour it in the tank. GT260 is really good stuff, and I love it for the street cars. Sovereign Knight saying, and you don't really have to tune for it. I mean, you can add some timing to go along with it, but I would just use it as insurance. I'm a big fan of that fuel for insurance purposes. Just keeping things safe. Sovereign saying, Horace Elgin Dodge and John Francis Dodge, the men who started it all. Very cool. Cody saying, if only I could find a Charger RT, I'd trade my Escape for one. For sure. Do that in a heartbeat. CFL saying, does the 2015 have as strong bottom end as the 2019 and up in the Hellcat 6.1 and, well, the Hellcats are all 6.2s. And yeah, it's all the same block. There's no difference. The only real difference between them might be the coating on the rotors on the supercharger. I know mine is not as thick. It doesn't make quite as much boost, but that doesn't seem to hurt it too much as far as making power. And I can see that in data between my car and Chris's car and Robert's car. Superior Fit saying, going to have mods done on Monday, upper and lower pulley, cat delete, and tune. He said about 770. Is that sound about right? Oh, this must have been the question you're asking me about. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what upper and lower pulley we're talking about, but I want to caution you on something. And that something is, what fuel are you going to be running? Because an upper and lower pulley setup, you really need to be on E85, in my opinion, for that. If you want to go an upper, I mean, you can go with an upper, like a 285 upper, and run it on pump gas and be in that 740, 750 range. And I would rather see you go that route, mainly because it's going to be safer. You're not going to be as subject to fuel quality issues that you would be with the setup that you have here. So there's that. I would just, I don't like seeing double pulleys on street cars on pump gas. Now, if you're on E85, that's a different story. And then E85, you'd be up around 800, 810-ish on a Mustang dyno to the rear wheels. Also, I'm basing this off of Mustang dyno figures. So yeah, I mean, you can, if you're looking at 770, that's really more like 710, 715 to the wheels on a if that's a dyno jet number, that would equate to like 710, 715 on a Mustang dyno. It's super easy to get to that with a single pulley. You don't have to mess with double pulleys for that. Rams checking in with Doc Diff. He is in Groves, Texas. Rift is checking. Hey, B. What's up, Rift? Hey, B. From Rift. I like it. Tuxedo is checking in and saying, hey, B. Mason, how's life? Going well, brother. Blessed. Hope yours is the same. Saying, every live video I see, I come into immediately in a good way. Thank you very much, man. Appreciate that. Tuxedo is our resident artist. I like that. CFL saying, speaking of my drag radial, any further news on the STS Hoosiers? Nothing yet, man. In fact, funny you should ask. I've got to give those guys a shout tomorrow. I'm actually waiting on another set of tires, so we're gonna visit with them and find out. I want to get the newest set, hopefully, on the car soon. We're coming into Q3. Had a weird start to this year, though. So, I'm sorry, we're coming into Q1, third month of the year. So, we need to start getting this kind of done here soon. Sovereign Knight, I caught that one earlier. Sovereign's checking in with Rift. Harley saying, bringing back the Viper is a pipe dream? Maybe. But I think if it's reimagined and it's done the right way, I think it could be viable this time. In fact, hi, Stellantis crew, Dodge. It's me, your old buddy B Mason. You know, your tough love disher outer. Let me know what you could do for me in terms of bringing me on board. Love to give you a chat you up a little bit. Let's see, Rick saying, you're right, over the Mopar Target, brother. They have what it takes to give us something and new and exciting and lighter. Yeah, I hope so. Definitely pulling the lever on that one. Ripped is hanging out with Superior Fit. It's saying, oh yeah, do the same stuff on E and it'll be big numbers. That's why I was saying, man, Superior, man, don't do a double pulley. You're nowhere near a double pulley if you're running it on pump gas. And if you are going to do double pulley, just pull the Band-Aid off and go with the 85. That's the only way to do it. And a perfect example of that would be Racer X's car. When we did the build on Racer X's car, that thing has been a tank at a little over 800 horsepower to the rear wheels. Thing's making over 1,000 horsepower at the flywheel and has run mid-nines since forever. So you can definitely get there, but just know this: you've got to know the limitations of the fuel that you're running. The fuel is what's going to dictate your pulley combination. And again, I can't say this enough: you are not needing two pulleys to get to 700 plus horsepower with that thing. Let's see. Cody saying, imagine if they made a lightweight car with a 5.7 turbocharged. That'd be kind of cool. Sovereign's hanging out with Harley. Superior's saying, what city are you in and do you install mods? I am in Houston, and no, I don't. But again, Dr. Differential and Speed in Groves, Texas. Pikes Performance in Cypress, Texas. Sovereign Knight saying, Ringland is the issue. It's actually, well, it's ring gap that's the issue. Even though the ringland's up, you're really looking at ring gap more than anything else. Riv's saying, keep it simple, stupid, for sure. HU saying, if you're using E85, what would be a safe boost level for a scat pack? It's not about the boost, it's about the tune that goes along with the boost. But if it's done right, you could get away with probably 10 to 12 pounds. And then from there, I would say that you're still going to be on a bit of a conservative tune with that, mainly because of cylinder pressure and cylinder heat. I would say that if you're seriously talking about going that route, just understand that the more power you make, the more important ring gap is to the combination. So to say that the fuel isn't going to save you, the fuel will save you from knock, not from your ring butting up and blowing the ringland, clearing off the piston and blowing the motor up. So, you know, really it's not even a rod strength. It's certainly not the crank. The crank in that thing is forged. You don't worry about the crankshaft. But again, it's that ring gap. And if you're going to be pulling the engine apart and you want to make big power with a 392, then you're going to be pulling the pistons and rods out of the thing. Well, hell, at that point, if you're putting in all that work, you're going to go back in with a set of molar pistons and rods. I mean, you're just going to go in with a better set of kit anyway. So you kind of see where I'm going with this. Don't try to get cheeky with the build. In other words, don't think that you're getting away with something. You're not. In fact, a lot of guys have tried to get away with something with E85, with 392s, make big power for about 4 or 5, maybe 8 or 9 hits. And then things go really bad really quickly. It can happen. Chris saying, kind of a stupid question, but why is it you have to upgrade your fuel at certain power levels? It's all about the knock resistance. The more cylinder pressure you have, the more susceptible gasoline is to just auto ignite. It'll just blow up, basically. Gasoline is actually kind of a twitchy fuel. And so when that piston is coming back up, just like a diesel, it gets to a certain point and you inject fuel, the sheer heat of the compression itself will fire that fuel. Same thing can happen to gasoline. It's just that the gasoline's already in the chamber because we're not talking about direct injected gasoline engines. And so as that piston is coming up, the heat in that cylinder will actually cause the gasoline to fire, and it can fire at a time that you don't want it to. In this case, it'd be like ultra high timing. And it can fire in different weird places. If you've got little carbon deposits or something like that that create a hot spot, then it'll fire at that nucleation site. It fires in a weird way, and then the piston comes up, hits top dead center, or I should say, hits its timing mark on its way up. Now you have two competing flame fronts. It just turns into a complete disaster flick inside of the thing, and that's how you blow engines up. Basically, you bend rods and ventilate blocks like that. Cody's saying, so basically the 392 is like a Gen 1 Coyote, good NA, bad for boost. Think of it like that, and you'll be in good shape. Sovereign's hanging out with Cody. Yeah, and one of the things Sovereign's definitely hitting on there is the 6.4 is incredibly impressive for a stock engine. It really is. For what it is, it's an incredibly impressive engine. And I'll put it to you like this. I would be remiss if I didn't say that I still think the 392 is the most important engine that Dodge has made in the last 50 years. And the reason why I say that, because the 392 gave rise to the Hellcat. The original Hellcat engine was developed off of the 392. So there's reasons for my reasoning of this. It brought an engine that is all but 500 horsepower to the masses and has sold in unimaginable by the thousands and thousands. It's brought old school, real Hemi performance to the masses, which is something that the original Gen 2 Hemi cannot say. It does everything that the original Gen 2 Hemi wished it could do down low, and it still pulls like a freight train up top as much as that intake manifold will allow. Let's see. Sovereign's hanging out with Cody. Chris is saying, would you agree that Mopars love nitrous rather than boost? No, I mean, every engine loves boost. Every engine loves nitrous. The thing is, you have to remember, they all take to the power adder the exact same way. There is no such thing as an engine that loves nitrous or loves boost more or less than another, necessarily. What it is that how much boost can that engine actually make? What is the RPM threshold of an engine? Like, for example, a Coyote engine does all of its business at the high side of that RPM range. So if you pair that with a turbo, or even, for most guys, a supercharger like a Procharger, then the Procharger is going to fit the mold of that engine better, because as that engine revs, it'll just keep making boost. It's easy to make boost on a smaller engine. Ring gap will work, I guess, well with that supercharger, and next thing you know, you're making big power with this thing. And people say, oh, that engine loves boost. Well, they all love boost. It's just to what level can you run boost with that engine before you run into other internal issues like ring gap or rod strength, or in the case of the 392, you simply run out of RPM capacity. You just can't turn the thing fast enough to really make any power up top, because that pulley ratio would make too much cylinder pressure down low and doink your piston rings. So just kind of some things to think about with that. And again, Shift Nation, thank you much, man. I appreciate that contribution there, bud. Whoa, hang on a second. Hang on. Dr. Doe saying, I'll jump on that with y'all, Racer X and Sovereign Knight. Well, thanks, buddy. Man, Sovereign Knight checking in. Saying right there with you, Racer X. Racer X came in 5. Man, let's send B some love, guys. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate that. Thank you all very much, man. I truly do appreciate that a ton. Racer X checking in. I like it. He just dropped a video today. If y'all haven't seen it, get over there and take a look at it, talking about the old Hemi tick. A topic that is near and dear to every Mopar enthusiast heart, no doubt about it. You get back up here, guys. Cody saying, be different and boost to 5.7. One of my favorite combinations is the E-Force on a 5.7. Chris is asking, Chris is saying, why is the 6.4 Max from the factory basically power-wise? Well, the reason why is because that's what we wanted. I mean, you don't want a car that's got so much left on the table, do you? The issue with the 5.7 versus the 6.4 that a lot of folks will say is, well, the 5.7 takes to mods better. Well, no, the 5.7 is just neutered from the factory. The 6.4 is a really good example of what a bored and stroked small block can do when it's got a good intake manifold, extremely good cylinder heads, and a camshaft that is basically there to just try to build velocity through that intake manifold. It's just trying to be a street cam, and it's a very conservative street cam in terms of valve events. However, it's got a lot of lift. It's actually a very aggressive camshaft, believe it or not. The only thing that's really holding that engine back is just the lobe separation angle needs to be tightened up. Aside from that, though, it's a good engine with a good cam. And you need all of those attributes when you need to move a barge as heavy as the LX platform is. So it kind of has to be that good to get it to move that quickly. Rift is saying, thumbs up, y'all. Yep, hit that thumbs up, guys. Sovereign's hanging out with Cody. White Knuckles saying, good evening, Brian. What about a cam with, say, 100 shot as a different option to the Procharger on the 392? I would say that would be a fun way to go about it. But again, you know, we're still talking about a power adder here. So when we're still talking about a power adder, that means we're still talking about ring gap concerns. That's why I keep saying it's a good idea. If you're going to run nitrous, don't go crazy with it. Give it a little bit of a tickle. Don't give it a jab. And that's what I have been saying to folks for a lot of years. 100 shot, you're probably going to be safe with. 100 shot is less than the power that you would get from the boost. And of course, it doesn't matter if it's got a cam, boost is boost. The extra heat is the extra heat that you're going to be getting from the added compression and just the compression of the air going into those cylinders. So knowing that, yeah, you can get away with some nitrous with it, but again, you know, what's safe, again, it goes back to the tuning, goes back to fuel quality. There's no such thing as safe, and everybody wants to, you know, there's words that will generate a certain level of, I don't know, it's misunderstanding. You know, safe is one of those words. Guarantee is one of those words. It gives the impression of a finite level of responsibility, and that's really not how it works, because the safety factor is a moving target. And again, fuel quality is the biggest concern here. Now, if you went with a wet shot, you might still be in a little bit safer place, but even then, you're still playing with fire a little bit, because you're talking about a build that is not 100% built for and fit for the application that you're looking to build. In other words, if you're going to build a nitrous motor, yeah, go with a cam, but also add ring gap to it. You add ring gap to it, now you can throw more nitrous at it. In other words, without going a little bit farther, you're not really going to be allowing that power plant that you're looking to build to live up to its potential, and that safety margin that you're looking, a window that is very, very, in some cases, very, very narrow. Just something to think about. Hit it with a 75 shot, you'll probably be all right, but probably is the key factor there. Again, JR, thank you very much. I appreciate it, buddy. Ortega is saying, I'm about to get a tune on my full bolt-on E85 16 RT Challenger M6. What's your guess on the wheel horsepower? I'm bolted up with everything you can think of. Well, I can think of a lot of things, but we're talking full bolt-on stock cam. Depends on the dyno, but if you're on a dyno jet, I'll say 468.7. And if you are on a Mustang dyno, I'll say 433.6. Donnie's saying depends on the dyno. Say new 392 or used Hellcat. That's the $64,000 question. So it depends on what your budget is and what you want to do with the car. If you want a 392 because you want something that is going to be a riot on the street, you can throw a drag pack on it, go out and raise all kinds of hell, really enjoy the power that you have in the car, and more importantly, be able to use every last horsepower that you spent your hard-earned dollar on. 392, very difficult to mess with. If, on the other hand, you're looking to put something together that is honest to God fast. I mean, we're talking a true to form 10-second car. The Hellcat is the only place you need to go. If you're looking to modify the 392 just know that it's not going to be very long into the modification process where you could have gotten a Hellcat that will always be faster than that 392. But only at the drag strip and only from a roll. I used to go sniping after Hellcats with Shalandra. Just saying. And 0 to 60, 0 to 80 runs, Hellcats couldn't mess with that car on the street. Now, allow them to stretch their legs out a little bit, the story changes. However, stoplight to stoplight, that 392 on a drag pack is hell to play with. And, you know, every platform has its strong suit and its weak suits, and that's where the 392 shines. And I'll go back to saying this, one of my most fond memories that I will have car related is me and my buddy Ray in his 1320. And again, we spent a couple of hours making hit after hit after hit, a couple of grown ass men making hit after hit after hit after hit after hit in that 1320. And it was just so much fun on the street. And we wouldn't have had that kind of fun had we been in his Demon. It wouldn't have been that fun. I mean, and we knew that, and we were out there just having a ball with this thing, trading back and forth. We're both within a tenth of a second between the two of us in launching this car. And we were going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth all night. It was so much fun. Again, I'll never forget it. Such a fun experience. And I got to tell you, you couldn't do that in a Hellcat. So there's that. There's going to be a compromise here. You will be giving up something to get something, no matter which way you go. You're going to be giving up street fun for hardcore tip-in, this hardcore tip-in wave of torque with the Hellcat. It's tough to let that go, I'll admit. But with the Hellcat, you don't have the snappy, responsive, able to use every horsepower that you got. You lose that personality when you go to the Hellcat versus the 392. If you drive the 392 and fall in love with it, buy the 392. But don't ever drive a Hellcat. I'll just leave it at that. Chris is saying, thoughts on the Inertia SRT Max Plus cam? Call Dr. Differential Speed Shop and talk to him about cams. Let's see. Harley Ed saying he'll run out of battery juice. Hey, listen, battery's getting a whole lot better now. Look up who did it. Drag Times, I guess, is who did was it an e-tron or the Porsche, one of the two. Check that out and take a look at, now granted, this is a very expensive car, $140,000 car. Look at how many passes that car made, and it was still at 88% battery charge. I mean, it was pass after pass after pass after pass after pass. There was a lot of passes, and it was still at 88% charge. To put that in perspective, and I get it, there's a gas station on every corner, you can always fuel up, but if I tried to do that with my Hellcat, I would maybe be able to get 5 passes before it is absolutely mandatory for me to put fuel in that car. And I certainly wouldn't have 88% of my range left, that's for sure. Sovereign's hanging out with Saturday saying, need a bit more information. Oh, talking about pricing and insurance. Sovereign's saying 392 will be cheaper in upkeep and insurance. It depends. Believe it or not, my insurance did not change between the two, and both of them in terms of upkeep, I mean, I just changed the oil. That's it. So the good thing about, I will say this, the one thing that I will always say about the Hellcat, and if you're debating between the two, for everything that's great about the 392, and there's a lot of things that are great, and just like I was saying, I've got a very, very soft spot in my heart for those cars. not Ray's car for sure, but you know, Racer X and me running the exact same number in his wife's shaker was hysterical to me, like you wouldn't believe. Just so many awesome memories with 392 cars. But the one thing you will always have to remember is that the Hellcat at the end of the day will always be a Hellcat. Resale value, long-term value retention will be better with the Hellcat. So just, you know, there's a cost of ownership, but the depreciation ramp, I believe, is less with the Hellcat. At least it is right now. Hang on just a second here, guys. Oh. Hang on. We got a lot of guys, and this is awesome. Dr. Diff checking in and saying, pop snipes after 392s and love it, especially on their drag pack. So to give you guys an idea what Dr. Diff's talking about, his dad has got a 5.7 manual Challenger. And that car with the Joker cam and JBA long tubes, that car will give a 392 all that it can handle and then some. So for any of you guys that are out there and have a 5.7, just know that, look, the same hot rod stuff applies to the 5.7 as applies to the 392. And that car, like I say, will give a freaking 392 all it can handle. And it does it being a 5.7, and it does it with a lot of theater too. So that's what he was talking about. And yeah, his dad goes out and snipes after those things. It's pretty funny. Dr. is also saying 5.7 with 5 to 6 PSI of boost, or 100 125 nitrous, or 6.4 NA. Both should be safe. What are your thoughts? I think so far. I think so for the most part. Well, here's the thing. 5.7 with 5 to 6 pounds of boost, or 100 125 shot is safe. That's been proven over and over and over and over again. You know, one of my all-time favorite combinations is the 5.7 with the E4 supercharger kit. It's a very clean supercharger kit. It's practically guaranteed to throw another 115 to 125 horsepower underneath the hood of that car, and it'll do so over and over and over again and be plenty safe. You know, if you hit a 6.4 with the same type of boost, I just don't think that it's safe. I mean, no doubt about it, but it just, you'll be down a little bit on timing because of the compression ratio difference. You're just not going to get as much out of it. You're still going to get that 125-ish horsepower to the rear wheels, which sounds like a lot, but when you're already making, say, 400, you know, the percentage isn't as high. So the gain isn't there. Like, the feeling isn't quite as much with the 6.4. Now, as far as nitrous goes, on stock pistons, I would say that you're probably good to about a C note on that deal, 100 shot. I just wouldn't go much above that. I know that there's guys that hit it with 125 shot all day long and don't have any problems with it. I don't doubt that for a second. You know, I've put together, you know, just kind of Kentucky windage on a couple of tunes. Basically, it was just me yanking 4 degrees of timing out of it at peak torque and 2 degrees of timing out of it at peak RPM, or blending it, you know, just interpolating 4 degrees out and then basically 2 degrees up top, 4,300, and then just butterflied it out that way for a nitrous tune. And I mean, they hold together fine. I think my thing, though, is that I would just be a little bit more concerned. My thing is, my issue with nitrous on these cars is just distribution. I don't really trust it. That's the same reason why I don't like meth injection. I just don't really trust it in terms of distribution. So, but that's kind of me being a little bit more Mother Hemi than anything else. So, but thanks, buddy. I appreciate that contribution there, bud. Let's see. Get back over here. I'm trying to get to everybody, but we've got a ton of folks in, so I might not get to you. I might have to kind of pick and choose because we're already over 2 hours here. Let's see. Let me try to pick a couple out of here, guys. R Drive's asking, need advice on best unleaded fuel for 392, 91 unleaded or 93 with 10% ethanol. Go 93 with 10% ethanol. You would rather have the anti-knock than the lack of ethanol. And for the most part, 93, by the way, is, you know, you're looking at usually like 5 to 8%. It's up to 10%. I've never seen 93 actually check in that high. I know that it's out there, don't get me wrong, and I'm sure it is, but I haven't seen it test that high. Typically, when I've tested 93, which has been sporadic, admittedly, it's been between 5 and 8%. Let's see. Let's see here, guys. Let me try to pick a couple here. Oh, Rift is saying you got 180 horsepower with just an upper on E. Absolutely. Kobe's checking in. Got my brothers from south of the border flags flying. I like it. Velocicito in the house. Someone's saying, oh, he's hanging out with Sad Kitty. Let's see. I think we already answered Superior's question, I believe. Oh, maybe not. Saying, going to have his car modded on Monday. Cat delete, upper pulley. Intend to give me an extra 70 horsepower. Sound right? What are your thoughts? Good idea or bad? It's a good idea, but it sounds to me, the numbers that you're being given, Superior, are a little bit off to me. Depending on your upper pulley, you know, like I say, I mean, I'll give it to you like this. A 285 upper should make another 100 and something, 125, 130 horsepower. I know that Robert's making, you know, I'm just, you know, saying I don't know what number it would make. I can only tell you that that car runs 9s, all right, with a 285 upper. So, but that's 93 octane with a little bit of boosting. 295, you can probably get away on on E10 on 93 octane is what I was thinking there. But again, you're probably looking at, you know, 990s in really good air with that pulley with a good tune on 93 octane. I just go off of what they run at the track and what the data looks like. A 3.0 pulley, 10.0, 990 setup, easily in that range. So again, it just depends, you know, without knowing what exactly you're going for, it just makes it a little bit tough. And admittedly, I am kind of bouncing around a little bit because, you know, we're getting a little bit deep in time here. Let's see. Oh, Sad Kitty saying insurance and maintenance isn't a huge deal for me. I do all the maintenance myself. My insurance is pretty cheap. Married and clean. Yep. That does help. That's the big part of it. Let's see. Okay. Sovereign saying, what, the brakes cost more, tires too? Well, yeah, brakes and tires cost more. Tires cost a lot when you keep your foot in it, though. You figure when you start getting into these kind of cars, tires are a consumable item, kind of like gas. Just you want to play, you got to pay, man. Unfortunately, that's one of the more expensive parts of this. Tuxedo's asking, can any Hellcat vehicle be very dangerous for teenagers? Yes. Any car is dangerous. Me as a teenager, I felt like if I was not allowing the smoke to be set free from the tires that were on the vehicle that I was driving, that I was doing the world an injustice. So yes, everything with me was dangerous. Sovereign saying if money is no object, Hellcat. Everybody's going, yeah, too much. Yeah, saying, and yeah, it's true. Yeah, Tuxedo, it's definitely going to be dangerous. Let's see. Got some of y'all hanging out here. Let's see. Already talked about that one. This is nice. I got you guys hanging out in here. I like it. Rich saying he got 180 horse with just an upper on E. That's right. I think I touched on that. Oh, Sovereign saying the Charger brought Dodge back, then the Challenger followed up. I will say this, that, yeah, it did. But it was weird that it took the conglomeration between Dodge and Mercedes-Benz to actually make that happen. Rick's saying the Magnum was way too ugly, man. I love that Magnum. I thought it looked great, but I'm kind of a little bit of a wagon guy myself, so can't help it. Tuxedo's asking if I wanted to meet a fictional character in person, who would it be? If I wanted to meet someone fictional, then I would say Prince. Well, Prince, I don't know who these folks are. A fictional character. If I could meet a fictional character, who would that be? Interesting question. I would want to meet Tyler Durden. That's who I would want to meet as a fictional character. Sovereign saying, hit that like button. Cody saying, I know the 4.6, 2 and 3 valve Mustang engines still have parts for them and they rip. They can, for sure. I've made a couple of videos about them a while back. Some of my favorite sounding vehicles, especially the two valve 4.6 sounds so good. Sovereign saying Jeep, Ram, Charger, Challenger, Durango, all sellers, Dart flop. Dart flop because it was, well, I got my own thoughts on that. Sovereign saying mid-engine Viper, no, no, hell no, shit, no, listen, no. The reason why no is because no. I don't even want to get into all the reasons why no. For every this, no. Now, front mid or rear mid, the new Corvette is rear mid. The C7, you could make a case that it was a front mid engine. But no, it'd have to be front mid as it was before. Roy saying new Mach 1, very awesome car, by the way. Brother saying he's keeping his 2019 forever. We're saying I'll give Dodge a bit more time, but it's getting old. I can understand that. Oh, HU saying he'd like to see Stellantis come out with a smaller engine, 2 or 3 liter turbo. We'll see, man. We'll see. Cody saying patience is getting thin. I can understand that. Oh, Rich saying he's keeping his Hellcat and not going to buy anything until something different, like significantly, I'm sure, different comes out. Ken797 saying all-wheel drive, aluminum block with aluminum frame Hellcat, Challenger twin turbo, and then evolve to like a radial electric. We're saying that new C8 Vet looks really good. You know, it's not really grown on me that way yet. I see them all over the place now. I don't know if these things just grew out of the ground during the last, couple of months, but I like the concept of the car. It's still growing on me. I'll put it to you like that. I don't hate it, but it's still kind of growing on me. And again, thanks, Kobe. I appreciate the contribution, brother. I really do. Cells is asking, is there any aftermarket intake manifold I could buy for my 07 Charger RT? There's a couple you could buy, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. I would say get that manifold ported, cleaned up, blueprinted really is more what I like to call it, and you'll be in good shape with that. And Superior is saying, thanks for all your info. Again, thank you for the contribution, buddy. I appreciate it. Really do. It means a lot. Shift Nation's checking in saying, love Mopars. I own SRT4 and a 392. Love SRT4s. But a new Mach 1 and a new Vet catching my attention a lot. The new Mach 1 is really getting my attention because to me, the Mach 1 is kind of what, so it doesn't cost anymore to just make a GT350 manifold if that's all you're going to make. To me, the Mustang GT is not as good as they could have made it. The Mach 1 makes it about as good as they could have made it with the tuning and with the manifold. I think that it's fair to say that is just in terms of platform and power and the combination of the powertrain and chassis together, is going to be a really good car. Now, I get it. You can do all the same stuff to the GT. That's fine. But it wouldn't be the Mach 1. And, you know, if we remember what happened last time when, you know, Ford did something like this, the S660, is that going to be basically the Mach 1 engine in the S660 is the base GT, the 485 version, horse version? Doesn't seem too outlandish to me. And if that thing loses about 50 or 100 pounds along the way, that wouldn't hurt either. And let me tell you something. That combination with a 10-speed automatic and a 355 gear is going to be a monster. And just like I said that the 18 was going to be a mid-11-second car from the factory on a drag pack, be looking for this one to keep carrying that torch. It's just going to be a little bit quicker still. I'm not kidding. You know, you take a look at a new Mustang on a drag pack, what, 1180, 1170? I mean, you're looking at practically a mid-11-second car. With this other car speculatively going 1160, 1150, maybe even 1140? Who knows? But anyway, I'm hearing you on that. Let's see. Solid text, I'm really, really scared of bears. Are there in Texas? I have to go there for work next week. Rip is saying, there's bears, but not the kind you're talking about. Yeah, you better believe me, buddy. You might want to make sure you don't find yourself in certain areas. Ships is asking, can we update Uconnect? I thought somewhere I saw there was an update. I don't think it's it's not an update like you're thinking it is. But no, so far as I can tell, no. McKinnis asking, what is the best handheld tuner for my 08 Charger RT? Would HP tuners be a good choice also? I would prefer HP tuners in an actual tune, as opposed to like an off-the-shelf tune. There's just going to be a lot more done on a actual tune versus a box tune. And keep in mind, you don't have to get your computer unlocked, so that takes a significant chunk of the cost out of the tuning process. But you know, the Diablo Trinity is not a bad way to go, so you can always go that route if you wanted to. It's just not, that's kind of like where you get started. It's not all that great. Mr. Blacktop saying, hey Mason, great conversation as always. Finally saw the TRX in person. It's a fantastic looking truck, but why 115 grand? Why not give us a 6.4 option with the 1500? Been asking that for a long time myself. Don't need a $115,000 pickup truck either. Superior Fit saying, having mods done on Monday, upper and lower. Oh, I think we already got to that. Yeah, that's... Let's see. Oh, Easy Rider saying, Porsche currently working on synthetic fuel called e-fuels for 2022. The company says they can make an internal combustion engine as clean as an EV scheduled for 2022. Maybe so. Again, synthetic fuels are absolutely nothing new, but it's going to catch on. It'll be kind of a buzz topic, you know, here in the next 5 years or so. G gets to saying, some marketing groups are more interested in being innovative instead of exciting. Excitement sells. Well, the problem is that nobody's innovative at all. Nobody's innovating anything, and that is making the excitement dwindle. So over at Dodge. So we got to get something new going on over there. Let's see. Rick saying, maybe in the epidemic of stupidity that we are living with today, Dodge actually hiring Dodge lovers that actually have the passion and know their Dodge history today is considered unfair and biased. Maybe. But I'll tell you this much. A lot of folks don't like hiring folks that have a little bit more of a focused approach. They want something that appeals to everybody. And the problem is that Dodge isn't, and Dodge is in a funny place because you really can't say that they appeal to everybody. They appeal to Dodge guy. They appeal to Dodge gal. That Hemi name, their cornerstone, and by the way, it's a pretty significant cornerstone, is rooted in history. So how can you not have folks that know the history and know the performance history and know why it's so important to not only know the old performance history coming into this from the genesis of the Hemi engine. Why did Dodge switch to the Hemis? Because they used it in a 16-cylinder engine that was a prototype engine for the P47. When they moved from radial to the experimental platform, going with this supercharged Hemi V-configured engine. Those same engineers went on to engineer the Fireball and the Fireflight engines for DeSoto, and for the Gen 2 Hemis, the 345, the 392, the 426s, and the like from Gen 1 into Gen 2. That's why that knowledge is so important, to know where you came from. And then the new history, why is it that guys like me would get so upset about the marketing direction that they went with the Hellcat engine? Why would it piss me off to say that the Super Stock is the only muscle car that comes with drag radials when you have the 1320 sitting there? It's a slap in the face to people that are carrying your torch. Those are the reasons why they need to hire the folks that have this drive, to keep that corporate image going with the products that carry the corporation along. This is the excitement that you want. This is the image that you want. These are the folks you need to bring on board. Hey, Dr. Diff again. Thank you very much. Asking, do I have any experience with any of the Diablo custom tuning? No, I don't. Asking if I have the software. Nope. Something you might want to cover with me at the meeting. Yes. So we'll be discussing that, primarily looking at, my side would be HP tuners. The Diablo, it's kind of funny because, I don't know if y'all heard that one. That was pretty good. With the Diablo side, it's kind of interesting because it just depends on what language that you grew up learning, so to speak, in this case. I would probably say that for me, HP tuners is a lot easier, and I think that they've got a little bit more R&D behind them. But there's nothing wrong with the Diablo programming itself. The ends that they get to are basically the same. So, but realistically, you kind of stick with one and roll with it, in my opinion. Oh, and again, saying the call you want to have work with Jesse, I'd like to add that, and maybe in it also. Oh, no, you're going to be in it. Maybe a way for your local viewers to be a part of it. I'd help. So we can definitely talk about it. And really, it's going to be a conversation that goes along the lines. There's going to be some proprietary information in there, though, for the cams. So I don't necessarily, we don't publish those cam specs, so I don't want any of that getting out there. But to be able to have that conversation is going to be really important because, in this situation, just know it helps to know the customer, just like the one that's looking at the sniper grind versus the Warlock versus the high roller for the 392. There's significant differences between those, and being able to have those conversations is the most important part of that. But it's like I was telling Jesse, to know the why behind the specification is the most important part of that. And that's pretty generic. We can always talk about that publicly. Dr. Div saying, absolutely. I like it. Oh, yeah, and I need to pick up that blank from you, too, the throttle body blank. Oh, Moto X, just kind of randomly, we're about to have to wrap it up. We're coming up on 2.5 hours, so I'm going to hit some random questions here. Moto X saying, how many feet has your 392 held off the Hellcats? Just got here a minute ago. Certainly not off a rolling start. Not so much off a rolling start, but you'd be surprised. Now, keep in mind, Shalana was pretty strong, but it was weird. From a roll, it would be, we would hit it, Hellcat would get out, and then I would shift, and Hellcat would get a little bit more, and then with each shift, it was like an extra car or two length, and rolling car length, I should say. But on the street from a dig, I mean, dude, I'll put them in my rearview mirror. I'll put it to you that way. So a lot of that has to do with the driver of the Hellcat too. And to be honest with you, The wise Hellcat driver will just reach over and put his car into 500 horse mode. And if that's the case, then I might get my ass kicked, because that one of the secret cheat codes with the Hellcat is you can just throw it in 500 horse mode. And if you've ever wanted to know what it's like to drive a really good 426 street setup, grab a Hellcat and just drive it in 500 horse mode. That'll be fairly close. Real torquey, not a lot of horsepower, but real torquey. And in that configuration, a Hellcat is real tough to play with on the street. I don't like saying that too often, though, because I've been embarrassed by that. I actually had a guy know what he was doing and cracked me on that. Rift saying, damn, I missed Racer X. Sovereign saying, Racer X is always with us. Absolutely. Dr. Just said, I've tried to send another super chat your way 3 times. YouTube sucks. I'm just kind of going through and picking some stuff out, guys. Kind of going backwards here. Oh, Dr. Div saying, I think he's talking about, I think at this stage of the game, we're talking to Racer X. Roy, I didn't even see you check in, man. Thank you very much. Saying, B knows his stuff. Thank you, buddy. Man, I didn't even see that one. I'm sorry, brother. Thank you for the contribution, man. I really do appreciate that. Damn, sorry about that, buddy. Feel bad. 19RS3 saying, which performs better, a Redeye Charger or a Hellcat Charger with a pulley and tune? Hellcat Charger with pulley and tune. It'll walk all over the Redeye at that point. And again, Doc, thank you very much. Sorry, I'm actually running backwards, so here we go. Oh, Mark the Mark's checking in. What did he say? Saying, my friends and I are starting a car channel, and I'll always shout out your channel. Thank you very much. Concerned to always ask questions and watch streams to learn more about Mopar and what to do with my RT. Very cool, man. Thank you. Oh, Roy just got Racer X's shirt in. Very cool. That reminds me, I've got to put my order in. I don't have a Teespring or anything like that, but I will be getting Mopar Chats and Motor Chat shirts made here pretty soon. I just got to get them ordered up. And it's going to be, basically, they're black shirts, canvas shirts with Blade Runner script. It just says Mopar Chat or Motor Chat. I just need to get those coming, actually. Racer X, finally getting Racer X saying, what's going on, buddy? Our little Hemi Tick video seems to be getting some attention. I like it. Very cool. That was a fun one. You know, it's funny. When, you know, a lot of folks will talk about the Hemi Tick as though it's a Hemi only issue. The reality is that any DoD, MDS type of configuration has run into this problem. And this is, again, not anything new. You know, the funny thing about it, and I mean, we didn't really get into this, is this got real popular back in the 70s and 80s. This technology is freaking ancient. Look up, homework assignment if you guys want it, look up the Cadillac 864 engine. That'll give you a little bit of an idea for how old this technology is and just how not awesome it has ever worked. So again, if you want to learn more about MDS and kind of if you want to call it the evolution or just the general history of that type of a system, at least from a mass production or a marketable, I should say, solution to this multiple displacement conundrum, if you will, look up the old Cadillac 864 engine. It's something to do if you're just bored to tears or can't sleep. David's asking, so is the 6.4 going away too? I don't think so. Not anytime real soon. There's been rumors about the 6.4 and even the 5.7 going away for a long time. Weird rumors too. They never really caught on, but you know, when you sniff around this stuff enough, you'll start to just find some weird rumors that have popped up. There's been a few rumors that the 6.4 was going away. Another YouTuber was talking about they're not making any more 6.4s, and it's like, dude, shut your mouth, man. You know nothing of what you speak. Anyway, that was one that was floating around for a while. Another one was that the Hellcat was going to be canceled. That was another ripe one. I mean, if anything, it ramped up. So, oh man, I'm trying to hit as many of y'all as I can here. 19RS3 is asking, I'm going to run a Nitto Tri-5 R2 and a 275 30-20. Do you think a 305 35-20 would make much of a difference? It will, depending on the size of the wheel that you're running. If you're running a 10 or a 10.5 inch, actually, if you're running a 10.5, the 305 35-20 will be fine. If you're running a 10, that Tri-5 R2 won't fit on there. The Tri-5 R2, in terms of width, is really a 315 if you're buying a 305. It will literally measure out like a small 315, which is a pain in the ass if you're running a 10.5 inch wide wheel, because it does bulge out a little bit. And I've got, you know, chicken strips going down both sides of my tire, which drives me nuts. 275 35-20 is going to be a little bit short. I'd go 275 40-20 on that. Racer X checking out, saying, gotta run. Just wanted to say goodnight, guys. Thanks again, my friend, and thank you too, my friend. Everybody's checking out with Racer X. Ethan saying, hey, B, hope all is well. Any comment on what's going on with Lund Racing? The regulations are about to hit. The aftermarket are essentially going to kill it. And Lund Jr. made a statement today saying the government is trying to hit the aftermarket tuners, basically. So the thing is, it's hard. And this is why I'm always saying, look, you know, my car is super emissions friendly, and that's a great thing. But big time tuners and tune distributors like Lund are going to be targeted. They did this with the diesel side quite a while back, and I mean, they came down on the diesel guys pretty hard. I don't know all the details of it, but it was just a matter of time on this deal. There's always a loophole and always a way around it, though. So we'll see how that ends up working out. But I haven't seen it. I'll have to catch up on that. Thank you for letting me know about it. So we're saying leave it up to the government to take a dump on that parade. Let's see. Trevor saying, you were so right. Thank you much. So we're saying a 6.4 Ram, that'll work. Yeah, that would work really well. I don't know why they haven't done it. Cody's saying Dodge is power, Ford is top end, and Chevy, I don't know. Chevy's modability, you can get a lot of power out of the LT platform. You get a ton of power, obviously, out of the LS platform. Thing is that people aren't interested in just power, and people are definitely not just interested in potential. See, the problem that you have with a lot of folks is that they don't understand the difference between what the car runs like when you buy it versus modded. People seem to put a lot of value in potential, which is weird because potential is an abstract. In many cases, it could be objective, but it's very subjective based on the person that buys the vehicle. I like to leave things a little bit more stock and just get more out of the stock platform just to see how far I can take things safely and legally, green also. But others might want to go a little bit farther, and Dodge, just with the way that they are from the factory, are very, very good. Roy's saying when the shirts come in, I will buy one. I will need to order those very soon. Catalyst is asking, B, do you use an oil catch can on your Hellcat? No, I don't. at all, as a matter of fact. Check in with a couple more of you guys, and I got to check out. Let's see. Jarvis asking, best wheel and tire setup for the 5.7. I like replicas myself, so I'd go with a set of replica, 20 by 9.5s up front, 20 by 10.5s rear. Stock 275, 40s up front, 305, 35s for the rear. Oh. Dr. Diff's cracking me up. So I'm literally not even thinking about the Sierra when I'm going, yeah, I need to pick up that blank too, because I got to port a manifold for him. And so he's going to give me a one of the Dr. Differential sells an intake too. I know the guy that ports them. He's pretty okay. But the throttle body is amazing that he sells. You guys may have seen it in one of the videos that I was that I put up, and it's me looking through the throttle body. Thing looks like a freaking work of art. And so when I port the manifolds for him, I was using one of them as a template. It just makes life a little bit easier. I can mount the throttle body to the intake itself, and I'll just check for fitment, check for gaps and things like that. And so I was like, yeah, it'd be great if I can get one of those. So when I'm porting these manifolds, I've got one of your throttle bodies, because I recommend his throttle body to go with my intakes for the 6.4 primarily. And so anyway, like, oh yeah, we can put that in Sierra when I go pick her up, or how are we going to get that thing down here? So I'm looking forward to both of those. That'll be fun. Roy's saying Dodge is quick, Ford is fast, and Chevy is pretty. They can be. And with that, guys, I have got to check out. We are running just over 2.5 hours. Guys, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you all very much for hanging out with us. Absolutely had a blast tonight. Look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. But with that, we're going to go ahead and start calling it a wrap. So, love each and every one of you guys. Could not do this without you. If you're going to send it, don't bend it. Keep your shiny side up. Keep wearing a mask, if not for yourself, then for others. And that's a wrap on this one. Y'all stay safe out there. Try to have a little bit of fun, and we will catch up with you on the next one, probably on Saturday. Maybe doing a track chat on Friday. If the weather holds out, we'll see if that works out or not. If nothing else, y'all be safe out there. Have a great one. That's a wrap. Adios.